One of the most hotly debated topics today is the topic of abortion. This has largely come to fruition because of the new appointment of Amy Coney Barrett. Abortion is the termination of a pregnancy early or the ending of a life of a fetus. Today, I'm going to try and persuade you or anyone else to not have an abortion. I'm first going to tell you about how abortions hurt communities. I'm going to move on to telling you how a fetus is alive. Then I'm going to finish off with talking about how every life deserves a chance at life. So to start, I'm going to tell you a quote from Alexandra DeSantis. The Black community doesn't have another 46 years to suffer at the hands of Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers because 20 million Black lives have already been lost to abortion since 1973. So what does this mean? It's worth taking note that since the rise of abortion, the Black population as a percentage in America has completely stagnated in growth, which means that instead of that 13% growing to higher percentages, it's remained flatlined because of the amount of abortions that the Black community has. Meanwhile, in a quote from Troy Anderson, Planned Parenthood is estimated to have made nearly 160 million, performing over 330,000 abortions last year. So all while the Black population has stagnated, Planned Parenthood has been profiting off of it. So now that I've talked about how abortions hurt communities by stagnating the Black population, I'm going to move on to telling you how a fetus is a life. One of the most popular arguments in the pro-choice community is the idea of my body, my choice. And I understand that. I would not want anyone telling me what I can or can't do with my own body. And Erwin Kremensky and Michelle Goodwin agrees with this. They say no one can deny that forcing a woman to continue a pregnancy against her will is an enormous social intrusion on her control over her body. Although the authors Peter Besorg, Joseph Ogar, and Asira have something different to say about this. They say that the embryo at conception is different from the mother genetically and thus cannot be said to be part of the mother's body. Therefore, abortion is murder of a distinct human being. Now, in more simple terms, what this is saying is at the moment of conception, a separate strand of unique DNA is created, both different from the mother and the father and anything else that has ever been created. At that moment of conception, that DNA strand lets us know what the baby's eye color is going to be, how tall the baby is going to be, the gender of the baby, freckles, health predispositions, and even aspects of its personality. When we have an abortion, all of that is completely destroyed and eliminated in a second. And I don't understand how that could be considered anything other than murder. So now that I've talked about how a fetus is alive because of that unique strand of DNA that they hold, now I'm going to talk about how every life deserves a chance at life. In a quote from Glenn Cohen, "It is children who are born of rape and incest that are likely to feel as though they are victims of animus by the state's singling out of rape and incest for the exception to criminalization." These people that were the cases of rape and incest, we see them here today next to us. They're people just like you and me. They have been given the chance to make their own decisions, good or bad. They become people. I think it would have been terrible if their mothers deprived them of that opportunity to make their own choices. And they're not the only ones like this. There's also people that have severe disabilities that are often used as an excuse to have an abortion, the disabilities that the baby may have. Take this lovely, stunning woman for an example. She's a pro-life advocate, but she also suffers from Down syndrome. But even though she suffers from Down syndrome, does that mean that she's less of a person than you and me? I personally definitely don't think so. And she's obviously made something of herself, even despite those disabilities. And again, I think it would have been very unfortunate if her mother took away that opportunity from her. So today, I've made an attempt to try and persuade you or anyone else to never have an abortion. I first talked about how Abortions hurt communities through how it stagnated the growth of the Black population as a percentage. I moved on to talking about how fetuses are alive because of the unique strand of DNA that they hold that's separate from both the mother and the father. I ended with talking about how every life deserves a chance at life. It doesn't matter if you have disabilities, doesn't mean that you can't lead a happy and fulfilling life. So if you are ever in the unfortunate situation, I hope it never happens, where you fall victim to an unwanted pregnancy, I hope that you'll think back to this, what I've told you here today, and make the right decision, because a life is a life. Thank you.
Good job, dude.
Thank you. My heart's pounding right now.
That was great. Give me just 1 second, okay?
All right.